Excellent. So thank you to everyone who is joining us and to the people that will be watching the broadcast. So we just want to firstly apologize for yesterday. We had quite a network issue, so we couldn't, get to some of the things that we had planned to chat about. So today is not a replay per se, but a continuation of the conversation we had yesterday. One of the things I had asked or I had said to Mr. Daniels over the phone was I had envisioned a very authentic conversation and not a staged professional thing where someone is just regurgitating knowledge or information or anything like that. For me, it was more of us drawing from your experience, drawing from the wisdom, and drawing from the book, the latest book that you had written. So that's the context of why we're here tonight and why we're gathering and why you are watching this wherever you're watching from. So I do want to welcome you. I want to thank you for joining Mr. Lwazi from Port Elizabeth, Mr. Lwazi from East London, apologies, and Jono, my good friend from PE, and all of the others who will be watching this. So for those of you who don't know, Mr. Daniels is a consultant, a leadership coach, an entrepreneur. You know, he has experience in this work. You know, I've been doing this thing for 3, 4, 5 years now. You know, I think you've been doing it for over 10 or 15 years or something like that. And you're one of the people that inspired me when I looked at you, when I saw your life, when I saw the quality of the life that you are leading and the things that you were saying. You are one of the people that inspired me to live what I was doing, which was law, and pursue this wholeheartedly. So, wow.
I think there's an impact of law. Laws will attest to that.
No, certainly.
I was studying law, and then this thing, man, that just came across me, and and then I pursued it. So perhaps I'd like to start by asking Mr. Daniels maybe to introduce himself. I know that I've said that he's an author, he's a speaker, he's an entrepreneur, he's based in Johannesburg now, he's married, and he just had a lovely baby, and yesterday he told us that the factory is closed. So I don't know if you can introduce yourself further, Mr. Daniels.
Cool. Thanks, Luphumlo. Thank you for this platform. I'm actually humbled by your powerful intro. It's so amazing. Sometimes you really sit down and look at the work that you've done over the years. So I really do that. You know, I'm always focused oriented. And now seeing the number of people that have been impacted by me, understanding that I'm a destiny connector, is just amazing. So I am Luthando Daniels. I was born and bred in PE in a place called New Brighton. I left PE in 2004 for East London. I stayed in East London up to 2017. I left 2017 to Johannesburg. So I'm currently residing in Johannesburg. As you have well said, I'm an author. I think I've authored 4 to 5 books or something. It's not that there are books that I have not published that are just sitting there. So I don't even know how many books that I promise. There are 3 books that I have not done. I have not published yet. That are just sitting there. They are ready to be published. But I'm just waiting for the right timing. So I'm a management consultant. I consult on change management, culture transformation. I'm an executive coach. So I coach executives, for Fortune 500 companies, and so that's my space. I'm passionate about personal transformation. My career began when I was doing a lot of interventions for youth. I was working a lot and closely with the Department of Education. This was between 2005 to 2013. And then from there, I transitioned to working with leaders in government and so forth, and the private sectors. So that's who I am in a nutshell. I'm married to one wife. Her name is Luthando Daniels, and I've got 3 kids. Talanda, she's 6. Unia is 4, and the young one now, I think, is 2 months. This boy is 2 months. So I'm blessed with those 3 kids. In a nutshell, that's my intro. That's why.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Daniels. I think from my side, the nature of the conversation that I'd like us to have tonight is, I don't think it will take the form and the shape of what we were speaking about yesterday. I would like to maybe start by asking you to share a bit about your journey and how you came across what you're doing, who inspired you to be the person that you are today. What happened,
Yeah. Wow. Sure. So my journey began in PE. I remember when I left Matlaki High School. This was, I don't want even to mention the years, but back in the day, when I joined Tembelihle High School, and immediately I joined Tech, there was a gentleman there called Sylvester. He's the one who assisted me, in fact, in getting admission to the school. And Sylvester, I used to run the Scripture Union camps. So there were certain weekends where you would take young people from all different high schools and would take them to a camp on a weekend, for a weekend. So we'd leave on Friday and be back on Sunday. It was an amazing time we had there. I mean, he used to co-facilitate with Ulsis and Kita, Mamu Pita, she's married. And I mean, they used to do amazing stuff there. And I mean, that inspired me. At that time, I mean, salvation. So that meant really impacted my life. I told myself that I want to do exactly what it does. I want to impact young people as well. And I feel it. So that's where my journey began. So from there, I joined an organization called Focus on the Family. Focus on the Family, this was now back in 2005, in November when we began, and our responsibility was to conduct the No Apologies program. It's a character-based abstinence until marriage curriculum. So we rolled that out, around the Eastern Cape. We were 50 when we joined, but I came to a point where I now became a coordinator of the whole program. This was now around 2009, and they employed me full-time. And during that time as well, I opened my business on the side and I started consulting directly with the department on youth affairs. From there, I wrote a book titled Youth Driven with Purpose. And I saw myself now transitioning, and when I was empowering a number of trainers, I was training a lot of trainers to become facilitators in what I was doing. And during that process, then I transitioned to starting to consult for organizations. And from there, I mean, I remember during that time I was doing a lot of interventions around team building, team interventions, building teams and so forth. And that's why I wrote my second book. Now, this was back in 2012. And the book was titled What Makes a Winning Team? Yeah, and then I just grew from there. I transitioned from dimension to dimension. So now I'm strictly dealing with the leadership of organizations, whether be it government or be it the private sector. I normally deal with the excos in these different types of organizations. So that's what I do. And yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to transition to from here. But yeah, this is where I am now.
You wrote a book, Mr. Daniels, your latest book, which is available for free. I think we'll drop a comment somewhere. There should be a place in the chat section where we can drop the link to the book so people can download the book. But one of the statements which was really, really powerful yesterday that are in your book, in fact, one of the first statements is, in life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you demand. In life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you demand. I know we spoke a lot about this yesterday, but briefly for the people who will be watching this, what did you have in mind when you were penning this thought down?
Yeah, so that is a very loaded statement, that in life you don't get what you deserve, you get what you demand. So the simple example, just to bring clarity around this quote, number one, is that you did not get where you are today unassisted. Someone lended you a hand, be it a parent, be it someone in your community, but there's someone who lended you a hand for you to go to the next level. So you didn't just reach your destination, or you didn't just get where you are. So in life, you can't get what you deserve. You have to demand it, because if everyone received what they deserved, everyone would be successful today. The reason we still have people who are struggling is because people are not getting what they deserve, because they are not demanding it enough. And there are critical elements for you to demand and how you demand what you need to deserve. There's a process that you must go through. And until you go through that process, you remain a mediocre. So there are decisions that you have to make for you to start deserving. Remember, in life, you will be remembered for two things. This is Dr. Mike Meadow once mentioned this. So in life, you will be remembered for two things. One, the problems you solve. Number two, the problems you created. That's what you'll be remembered for. So now, let's focus on or zoom in on the problems you should be solving. By beginning, to solve the problems you were created to solve, now you are starting the journey of deserving what comes to you. Remember, whatever comes to you in terms of monetary value, it is as a result of the service that you've rendered. So the number of people that you impact through your services now determines the income that comes into your organization. But not only that, and also how you price, your services. Then it determines really what happens to you financially. When it comes to your cash flow. So you need to start answering the call. The call is in the vocation, what God has called you to do, or what God has called you to pursue. That's number one. Number two, you must know that there are people who are connected to your destiny that are created or that are positioned to lend you a hand because they know things that you don't currently know. You need that knowledge for you to go to the next step of your journey. So you'd find that, I remember when I started coaching, my fees were basic. They were around 350 per hour. People would come in and I would just charge them 350. Another time, I was renting in Vincent in East London. And and the amount that I was charging was not equivalent to the money that I was paying for rent. I needed to change my pricing model. So there are different intricacies that you begin to learn in your journey as you move along. And once you adhere to those principles, then you are able to grow and develop. So there are people that are connected to you that will give you or will lend you a hand. Now, some will do it for free or complimentary, but others will require you to pay a fee. So in the scenario that I'm painting now, I remember we needed to invest a lot of money for us to get ideas and to build or scale our coaching business. So there are those things. You have to have a mentor in your sphere of specialty because that mentor will give you insights that would have taken you many years to achieve. Make a commitment to grow. That is why I would say to people, do everything you can for knowledge. Do everything you can for knowledge. Never say, this is too expensive and so forth. Never say those words. You must do anything that you can for knowledge. Pay the money that you need to pay. Because readership is progression. Knowledge is progression. When you read certain books, there are books that you currently that you don't know that are not exposed to you now because there are mentors that you are not connected to. Until you're connected to those people. I remember one time I was in one of I was invited by a friend in one of his houses. He's the mentor of mine. So the first time I went to his house, I was amazed. This guy showed me his book, a coaching book. I had never seen this coaching book anywhere, and I got this material. When I started reading this book, I realized, so you are sitting here and you are talking and you are, oozing with wisdom. You are getting these insights from these powerful materials. So I remember, I was still staying in East London then, and I'd come for a particular assignment. He borrowed me the book, for the weekend, and I read it, and he ensured that he received it. He didn't want me to say, I forgot it. No. I needed to return it because it was his valuable treasure. So there are books or there's material or knowledge that you'll never be exposed to until you're connected to someone who's ahead of you in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So in life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you demand. Now, let me point this out. You are driven by two energy systems. You are either driven by the energy of your past or you are driven by the energy of your future. Let me repeat that. You are either driven by the energy of the past or the energy of your future. So the energy of your past is connected to your memory. That means if you are driven by the energy of your past, your memory, it simply means that you are now digressing. You are not really progressing because whatever you are doing it emanates from that energy field. Or you are driven by the energy or drawn by the energy of the future. Now that speaks to your vision. That is why you must be clear in what you want to achieve. The more clear you are in what you want to achieve, then that energy field will draw you toward that future. Because your future, your vision must be so real to you that you must start exercising or start living it today. And every day you wake up, you'll be excited because you are going toward or you are trying to attain this and that. So you'd find that most people, where they are hindered, is that you wake up and then immediately you wake up, you remind yourself about who you are in your current circumstance. And that's a hindrance because remember, your feeling is the secret. It's a mystery that alters everything around you. So if your feeling or your emotions or your energy field is deflative in nature, then you don't have enough energy for you to go to the next level. So you must make a decision. When you wake up, there's a routine system you have to follow. Once you follow that routine system, it will calibrate you to a particular frequency, which will allow you to move in the direction of the vision that you are trying to attain. The moment you wake up and you start dabbling with your phone, with the news, you are reminding yourself about who you are. And who you are is in the past, not in the future. Remember, your future is ready for you, but there's a person you need to become for you to realize it. So until you pay that price, until you make that decision, you'll remain where you are. So these are different, there's a number of intricacies that one needs to adhere for them, to reach their destination. You can't just reach your destiny. There are certain disciplines that you need to adhere to and for you to demand what you deserve. For you to deserve what you were created to receive. You'd be amazed that there's so much that you were created to attain in life, but it depends on your paradigm and how you view the world and your exposure. So the more you are drawn by the vision of the future, you won't have to worry about the how. Most people worry about the how. The how is not your problem. Your problem is the what. What is it that you want to achieve? Be clear about it. It must be crystal. Once it's clear, no one will push you to do anything. You will be motivated. You will be inspired. You will be enthused to move forward toward that direction. Hope I've answered you.
Speaking about the disciplines, there's a word that you mentioned there, that there are disciplines that you'd have to embody or you'd have to practice to get to your future. What are some of the disciplines that you employ? In fact, let me ask you this way. Robin Sharma speaks of this concept of between 5 and 8 in the morning, that those hours are the most critical hours and all of that. How do you start your day? What do you do first thing in the morning? How do you plan your day? Your daily routine. And I'm asking this because you mentioned that there's particular disciplines that you must employ to realize your future. So in terms of your day, I just want to simplify it and peek into Mr. Luthando Daniels' day. First thing in the morning, you're waking up. What do you do?
Cool. That's a good question. Let me answer it this way. So Robin Sharma mentions the importance of waking between 5 o'clock, and going through your routine system. That's okay. It is important for you, though, to find your own rhythm. We don't have the same rhythm. You would find that some people work best in the morning section or morning session. Others work best in the evening session. So you must find your rhythm, because once you find your rhythm, you'll just flow. Because if I copy or mimic your rhythm system, then I might, it might not benefit me the way it should, until I go into my own zone or I enter or tap into my own rhythm. So you must find your rhythm. You must find your rhythm. Now, one of the things that are important, in waking up in the morning and following a particular rhythm system and before you sleep is that the first 10 minutes when you wake up in the morning, this is the time where your subconscious mind is open. Okay? Your subconscious mind is open, then you can easily influence it with inflative ideas or inflative routine system that will empower you or empower your vision. So that is why it's critical. The first 10 minutes when you wake up and the last 10 minutes before you sleep are very critical, because you enter the theta stage. Your theta state. This is your hypnotic state where you easily influence, your subconscious mind. Let me just paint a picture of how it works. So we understand that a child from the ages of 0 to 7 years, the psychologists tell us that during those years, the child has not yet developed what you call the conscious mind. the consciousness. That is why you teach them what is right and wrong. You say, hi here, and so forth. So you teach them. During that time, their subconscious mind, faculty is open and they are easily influenced. So whatever you say to a child between the ages of 0 to 7, it gets directly, it is installed directly in their subconscious mind. And those scripts now continue to play until people die. Those scripts continue with you. So that is why the reason we talk about limiting beliefs. A limiting belief is none other than a negative script of what someone said in one particular event, somewhere in history or somewhere in your background. And that idea is still playing in your mind. Those are limiting beliefs. So you have to find a way to rewrite those scripts. So the reason you need a routine system is because there are habit patterns that you are currently embodying that are not serving you. Once you understand those habit patterns, you don't even have to focus on them, because now we understand and appreciate the new study of neuroplasticity, which says the brain can rewire itself. What does that mean? It means that you can install a new habit system or new habit patterns in your life and focus on them solidly and negate the habits that are not serving you. And over time, that pathway will be closed and you will be empowered with these new habits. What am I trying to say? What I'm saying is that the reason you need a routine system, it is morning and evening, it is because you have to install the new habits. And it takes about 21 days to discard a habit, 21 days. And it takes a cycle of 21 days to embed a new habit. So that means it takes about 3 months or 63 days for total transformation or to install, to fully live out a habit. So that is why you need a routine system, because your future requires that routine system. Remember, the difference between people is information, number one. And the other difference between people is momentum. We don't have the same momentum, okay? The difference between countries is momentum. We are not on the same footing, for example, with China. They are on a different footing that is very high than us. That is why they are accelerating whatever they are doing, because they are able to plan 100 years in advance. We have not done that. What do I mean? So what does that mean? It means you have to have the vision of the future that will draw you and set and put in place the routine system that will help you to get there. Because this is the question you ask yourself when you are trying to reach any destination. You ask yourself, okay, what is it that I want to achieve? And you put it there. The second question is, what needs to happen for me to realize this? In other words, instead of putting the to-do list and drawing out the to-do list, I must draw out a not to-do list. What are the things that I need to let go that are not currently serving me for me to reach the destination? And you write them down. And the next question is, what are the habits that I need to embed or embody in my life for me to achieve the ultimate? Then you put those ideas down. And then you ask yourself, am I willing to pay this price? Well, that's a critical question. You have to decide. Yes, I'm willing to. So what is the price that I need to pay? It means I need to let go of certain things. It means I need to dissociate myself from certain relationships. It means I need to let go of, so there are many things that it rearranges everything that concerns you. And then you follow suit as a result of the decision that you make. You follow that routine pattern and then things change. So when I wake up, wake up and pray in the morning, I pray, and then I meditate on the vision of my future. It's always been clear. I meditate on that vision of my future, and then I ask myself some critical questions about the steps that I need to take daily. Sometimes you don't have the foresight of seeing the steps that I need to take, but daily there's grace uploaded for you to march on. There's a pathway that is created for you. So you will receive certain signals in what you need to do and how you need to go about doing that. And I would follow those daily promptings. That is why prayer is important, because you are a multidimensional being. You are a multidimensional being, and that means you are a tripartite being. You are spirit, you possess a soul, and you live in a body. Why is that important to know? It's important to know so that you can maximize and leverage every faculty or every facet of your dimensionality. So as a spirit, for example, your spirit feeds on a different diet than your soul and your body. So your body feeds on natural food, healthy food. Your soul, what is a soul? Is your mind, your will, your imagination, your emotions, and your intellect. Your soul feeds on knowledge. Okay? It feeds on knowledge. And then your spirit feeds on communion. That is why you find people because that faculty, it needs to feed on something higher than anything that is natural. Okay, so the reason I pray, because I believe now my standing as a Christian is that I get now divine signals that will lead me, toward the ultimate, because I don't have the routine system. In fact, I don't have the GPS system that will take me there. But I've got something that I can start exercising, which will lead me toward that direction. So after I meditate on meditate on the vision of the future, then I start reading. It's important to retain knowledge. I mean, your mind retains knowledge easily in the morning session, and even before you sleep in the evening. So your routine has to be the morning and the evening, because remember, that's an opening of the subconscious mind. So after I have read, then I look at the stuff that I need to do, and then I focus and I categorize everything that I need to do. What is the priority? What is the highest priority list? And then I start acting on those things, whether it's a phone call or a meeting or whatever that activity that is demanded or is demanding me for the day. Then I follow suit.
It seems like you have a very structured approach.
Clear.
Exactly what you want to do. Colleagues, I'd like to invite all of you that are tuned in. Maybe if you have a question, you're welcome to unmute yourself. I'd love this to be a conversation more than a, I don't know what to call it, but maybe one more question whilst other people are thinking of their questions. You coach celebrities, you coach executives, you coach very successful people. And most of us that are on this platform and the people that are watching, we want to be successful. I would believe that we all want to have a great impact. We are people of purpose. We are people that want to make a change in our respective domains. 3 things that you tell to the celebrities and the executive that you coach that you think are missing in the lives of normal people, if I can say. What are those 3 things?
Okay, so number 1, I would tell my client that I am here as your thinking partner. Okay, I am not here to tell you anything. I am here to facilitate the process of your transformation. In other words, you have the answers. I'm show you how that unfolds. So I tell them that I am your thinking partner. And what does that mean? It means that there's a way you need to think for you to achieve what you want to achieve. And then I ask them a simple question, which is, in your world or in your view, what is thinking? When you're thinking, what do you do? Probably I must ask you this question. So when you think, what do you do?
I think.
Yes, when you're thinking, what are you doing when you're thinking?
I'm trying to access the thoughts that are in my mind. I'm trying to, get into the deeper parts of my soul and understand what's going on in my head.
How do you do that?
I think.
What is thinking? So one of the things that you need to know about a coach is that a coach is a conduit of transformation. A coach is there to give you clarity. They are not necessarily there to give you answers, but they are there to facilitate a platform for you to grow, because the answers are already within. So thinking, when you think, thinking is none other than asking and answering questions and making decisions. You ask yourself, yes, Luthando Daniels, oh, he makes sense. Is it true or false? So as I'm talking to you, you are thinking. Everyone who's on this platform is thinking as I'm talking to them. So you are thinking, you are asking yourself, and you are answering yourself, and you are making decisions or assumptions. So this is where now the role of the coach comes in. When I say I'm your thinking partner, it means I am trying to intervene in the conversation that is already taking place within you. It could be that conversation is not serving you. This is what we call self-talk, because the quality of the questions you ask yourself determines the quality of the answers you get, and that determines the reason, the decisions that you make thereafter. So my role as a coach is to come in and ask quality questions that then, lead the client to get or receive quality answers and the decision that they make thereafter. So that's what I do. So if you want to understand, for example, what coaching is, it's a very simple format. I remember I was asked this by my teacher when I was going through my coaching masteries and up to the master's level in coaching. The very first day, she asked us a simple question, and she wanted to understand if we understand the concept of coaching. So she went around the room, asking everyone, about their view. When she came to me, I simply referred her to Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. I said, that is my understanding of coaching. Proverbs 20, verse 5 simply says, counsel in a heart of man is like deep waters, and a man of understanding draws it out.
Sure.
So counsel in a heart of man is like deep waters, and the man of understanding draws it out. In other words, the answers or the repository of your answers is already intrinsically innate deep in your recesses of your being. My role as a man of understanding is to draw out that wisdom and bring it to the surface through questions. That's what a coach does. So that's what I tell them. And then we begin our process. So I feel, okay, that answer is mouthful.
There's a question that just came in from Upenuel Lunga. So the question is, two questions actually. The question is, as part of your routine, do you set time aside to think? So that's the question. As part of your routine, do you set time aside to think? And if so, when and how often? So in your routine, how often do you set time aside to think? And the other question there is, we're living in a time of great challenge and stress with the emergence of COVID-19. Many people are struggling to deal with the consequences of what is happening. How do we use the power of the mind to help us not just to survive, but to thrive? I love that question. How do we use the power of the mind, not just to survive, but to thrive?
Beautiful, powerful, and brilliant questions. Let's start with question number one. Do I set time to think? Yes, I do. So every day I try to set time to think. But there's a day in a week where I block 1 to 2 hours and I lock myself in a room or in my office and I just think.
Sure.
Remember what we said, what thinking is. Thinking, the quality of the questions you ask yourself determines the quality of the answers you receive, and that will determine or influence the decisions you make or the assumptions thereafter. So there's a time where I block 1 to 2 hours in a dark room and I close the curtains, I close my eyes, and I'm thinking during that time. I might be playing music at the background. I'm trying to silence my soul because remember, we are forever exposed to what is happening outside of us. So that time helps me now, to be able to silence my soul and receive the signals. So that there are decisions that you should never make in your life until you take that time to think. And I mean, that it changes your world. It literally changes your world. I received this from one tycoon, one billionaire. This guy was a venture capitalist. He was a billionaire. And I remember this guy, he came, he wanted some funding for his business. So his destiny connected, the person who connected him to the guy said, okay, you've just shared a brilliant concept, because he had an opportunity to pitch in front of this billionaire. The billionaire said, no, it's fine. I mean, that's a brilliant idea. But my next thinking time is scheduled for next week, Thursday. Sure. So I will come back to you after Thursday next week. So this man, intentionally set out time, to think every week. That I thought that to be very profound, and I adopted it. Clear. So I do make time to think. So you must close. Find a silent place where you can be able to think. Have a notebook handy as well, so that you can jot up the ideas. Question number 2: we are living during the COVID times. How do we maximize the leverage of our minds or mind power for us to, to live out through these times? So the times that we are living in require us to maximize the 3 faculties: your spirit, soul, and body. Okay? So what is happening now, you'd find that there's a lot of panic. The reason there's a lot of panic is not because we are not all facing the same thing, but what helps some of us is that we have some faculties that we are maximizing. the more, okay, let me just paint this scenario. So you are spirit, you possess a soul, you live in a body. Clear. The ultimate idea of God was for the spirit to rule and dominate the soul so that the soul can give orders to the body. What happens is that we don't develop that relationship, don't even have that relationship. If we have that relationship, it's just an intellectual exercise that I know God or I have a relationship with God, and it ends there. There's no actual relationship or communion with God. And therefore, that faculty is closed. It's not serving people. And what happens is that now people begin to deal or lead their lives through their soul, which is your ego mind. Now we know what happens when you begin to rule or when you lead your life through carnality. What happens? You know, you are bound to make mistakes because you are acting out of ego. That's what you are finding. So this is a time where you need to exercise as well your spiritual faculty. If you don't have that relationship, you have to begin that relationship today with God, because that relationship will help you, with the ideas that you need to start adopting in your life for you, to move in the direction of breakthroughs. Because mind power on its own, it won't serve you. There are times where your mind is just going haywire. You need something higher to silence it. I've experienced this many times. I mean, I've been a student of the mind since 2005. I bought the book of Mind Power in 2005. Some people are waking up to Robin Banks now. Since 2005, that's when I bought that first book, and it literally impacted my life. So you need your mind to work in tandem with your spirit, so that your mind can obey the whisperings of the spirit, and so that you can be led toward your breakthrough. I hope that makes sense. Because if you are just going to operate your mind, that is why now people are entering, there are different disciplines now that are taking place, like your mindfulness and all consciousness and all these beautiful disciplines. But without the governance of the spirit, you end up doing funny things. I've seen it.
Without the governance of the spirit, we'll end up doing funny things. One last question for myself. I think the theme of everything that you've been saying, as I can hear, is there's such an importance, or there's a huge importance that is placed on our ability to listen to what the Holy Spirit is saying, and to listen to what the Spirit of the Lord is saying, and to be able to follow those promptings of the Spirit. And I think one of the things that makes you unique as Mr. Daniels is you're able to then marry your practice and your profession with the Bible and the Holy Spirit. Judging from what you were saying now, quoting, is it Proverbs 25? That's
20 verse 5.
20 verse 5,
Yeah.
Do you think, one last question for me, do you think that is missing from the leadership that we are seeing today, or within the coaching practice, that element or that practice of marrying scripture and what we are doing in practice? Do you think it's a powerful combination? Do you think it's something that's missing, or?
It is something that is missing on Luphumlo, because everyone is trying to be politically correct. So Mina, I go with my God wherever I go. I enter boardrooms with him, and he gives me wisdom. So one of the exercises that I normally take all the leaders through, because leaders are dealing with some complex challenges. So every leader that has gone through my practice or gone through my coaching process, I always advise them to take the book of Proverbs, and I will tell them that if the date is the 5th of a particular month, or 5th of July, and like today's, the date is the 21st of July, you must read Proverbs 24. And when you read Proverbs 24, have a journal handy, so that you can write down the ideas that you'll be getting from that. So what am I trying to do? I'm interrupting their habit, their routine system. I'm trying to introduce something that will interrupt their thinking pattern. But I don't do it abruptly, I do it, as we move along. They start adopting that idea. And the moment they practice or roll out whatever I'm advising, then, you see people's lives changing, and it even raises their level of wisdom. I remember one a particular client. This was last year, né? This was last year. This is a very prominent client. I mean, she reports directly to the minister. So I was taking her through a coaching process. And I said to her, she must go through this process. I told her the importance of it. I said, don't question things. I understand you've got a Bible and you've heard many things. Just go through this thing, you know. And Kaloka as a coach, I have authority. They give me that leeway. And they go through the discipline. It is amazing. This lady said, Luthando, you know, things that are taking place are just amazing in my life currently. You know, I'm now part of the WhatsApp group of the minister. The trips that are going to overseas, Dubai and all these places, I get invited to be part of those. I mean, something that wouldn't happen in this lifetime, you know, as long as I'm still in this position. What happened? Her level of wisdom grew, and because of that wisdom, she started sharing those ideas that were compelled or influenced by that level of wisdom. And what happened? People began to pay attention. When you speak wisdom, the Bible says, people will pay attention. And people will want to be drawn to you. And I mean, that happened to her, and everything changed around.
Wow.
The moment I left, the moment we finished our process, that lady was in a prominent position. And we are still in contact. And there are many testimonies that I can share with leaders that I take through this discipline, because you need the voice of God. Guys, if we are told we were created by God,
yeah,
then why would you live outside that blueprint?
Sure.
You know, I was thinking about this thing today and said, hey, you know, the reason now there are many voices around the issue of Christianity, if Jesus Christ was white and all this, your uncle and this mayhem. The reason everyone now is find that people now begin to follow those voices or erroneous voices is because very few people have had an encounter with God. What distinguishes people in Christianity is your encounter. If you have had an encounter with God, no one can ever tell you that he doesn't exist, because you had a direct encounter. So everyone needs their Damascus experience for them to solidify their Christianity.
Sure.
It just seals the deal, because if you don't have an encounter, and not just one encounter, continue to hunger and yearn for more encounters, that just builds a relationship, you know, with God, and it solidifies really your faith. You become formidable. Yeah. So the spiritual element or component is missing because we want to be politically correct. Of course, the coach, okay, I believe some of the people that will listen to me here are coaches and will tell me, Luthando, this is outside the ambit of a coach for you to advise a client on what to do. Remember, there are two types of coaching methodologies. There's a direct coaching methodology and there's an indirect coaching methodology. So a direct coaching methodology is when you ask the client for permission to advise. You ask the client, you know, when you see, okay, so you ask them for permission and they would allow you most of the time. And then you can share your word or you share your wisdom. But the indirect methodology is when you don't ask at all, you know, and there are situations that allow for that. Indirect, you just ask questions, you lead them through answers, you know, and yeah, so I just wanted to share that quickly to the coaches that will be listening to me and will be saying, kind of, you can advise a client. No, you can. It's the direct coaching methodology.
Excellent, Mr. Daniels. This conversation was supposed to be based on the 150 ideas that can change the quality of your life. So Mr. Daniels has written a book, and it's very interesting how the book came about. He shared it briefly with us yesterday. So he's written the book, and the book is available for free, and we'll maybe in the comment section, we'll provide the link for the download. There is also a course which I would like for you to briefly chat about that is available that you spoke to us about yesterday. But before that, there are 2 or 3 comments that I'll just like to go to. One from Mr. Jonathan, who is asking, do you still have a passion for training, especially in the workplace, focusing on employees and the unemployed, saying that his background is being a skills development facilitator. So the question there is, do you still have a passion for training? And I think he was also speaking about the changing landscape of training and people going into the 4th industrial revolution. I know that we've experienced that in our business as well, because 70 to 80% of the programs that we had designed and we are doing, they just came to a stop. Now we are trying to move them to the online space. So that's the one question there. And then there's a comment by Mr. Lwazi Oti. Many speakers use biblical principles without mentioning the source. And unfortunately, however, that ends in a form of godliness without the power thereof. So I agree that a focus on the mind without the empowerment of the spirit leads to limitation and even deception. The reason I was asking this question, Mr. Daniels, there is so much knowledge available. There is so much of wisdom and knowledge that's readily available for everyone to see. And I really believe in the heart of my hearts that what will make us distinct and different is being able to marry the word of the Lord, the biblical principles, with whatever we are embarking on. And it's one of the things that I've seen in your life as well. One last comment there from Jonathan saying, so true, Mr. Daniels, depending on God is unpopular narrative. And it's heartwarming to have speakers who have such an unapologetic stance on this. So 2 things as we are finishing off. Can you maybe try and address Jonathan's question about the whole changing landscape of training and all of that, and if you still have a passion for that, or if you're just doing coaching now and leadership work. And can you also speak on the program that you've designed, the Take Charge program that you've designed, as we are finishing off? I want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us. This was very short and brief. It was very also it wasn't scripted, because I wanted us to have an authentic conversation. That is why I opened the floor and said, let's ask the questions. And I really believe that people who will be watching this will gain a lot. Hopefully we can do it again. Over to you, Mr. Daniels.
Thank you, Luphumlo. You're such a good host then. You must do this often. So, question, Jonathan. Yes, I'm still passionate about training. I still do training. In fact, we still do training. So remember, our company is based on different pillars. Pillar 1 is around culture transformation. So we conduct or roll out culture interventions for organizations. Pillar 2 is leadership development. Pillar 3 is change management. Pillar 4 is executive coaching. So that's where we do certifications as well. I mean, we were the first organization to certify coaches in the Eastern Cape, partnering with one of our colleagues or associates in the coaching fraternity. Now we are doing our own coaching certification processes. And, from last year, we started doing it online. We took it online, So when Corona hit, we were already online, with our coaching programs. And then the last leg is personal development. I'm passionate about personal development because I believe that you need to marry personal development, mind power, as was referring to, personal development together with the spirituality. So spiritual intelligence, and the emotional intelligence of things, you need to combine those things, because without the other, you will lack, because spirituality without personal development, you become an extremist. Personal development without spirituality, then you become a new age guy, and you have no boundaries, no limitations, everything is permissible. Then there are no boundaries and rules around you. It becomes problematic. So you need the balance of both. So another question that was asked, so I hope I've answered Jonathan there. I still run trainings, yes. I'm passionate about training, and I will never stop training. Although we've got a team of people who do trainings, I also do conduct certain trainings. But it depends which level I'm doing it at. What else? Is there another question there?
No, it was just comments. So it was just comments. But it was just Mr. Jonathan's question, and he was just asking also about the 4th Industrial Revolution and the move into the online space. And you mentioned that you guys had already done that even before COVID-19.
Yeah, so the world has changed. The world has changed, guys, forever. So if you are a trainer, a speaker, a personal development coach, a leadership expert, without you having an online presence, you are done. So that means as well, even how you market is going to be different. You're not going to market like you used to market. The reason we are doing videos these days, we are producing free content. It's called education-based marketing, okay? Education-based marketing, EBM. When people receive value from you complimentary, it is easy for them to become your full-time clients. I've experienced this over time. You know, so you need to be, if you're running a personal development program, company, or a business that is dealing with training, so you have to dish out content for free. There has to be a channel. You must have, your channel on YouTube where you dish out content, because more people are going to Google you on YouTube, and if they don't find you, then you become mediocre and you remain in the periphery. So you want to be visible online, even if you outsource this job in terms of someone will be handling your social networks and so forth, but you need to be visible. And the Take Charge program is online. So I have seen there's a gentleman who joined us here who's just gone into my website and downloaded the book. So you can just go to the website, www.luthando.co.za. Daniels has an S at the end. Luthando has an H. So www.luthando.daniels.co.za. You just go in there and then you're able to get the book for free. And in one of the buttons on my website, then there's a Take Charge button. If you click that button, you'll hear more about the program. I have seen more lives being transformed through this program than any other program I've ever offered, because it's so practical. So if you are interested in what we do, you can just go online. We've got 3 different websites. We've got a Life Rhythm website, www.liferhythm.co.za. We've got our company website, www.elolead.co.za, and my personal website, LuthandoDaniels.co.za. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Thank you all for tuning in. We will make this available on YouTube, and then we'll probably also replay it on Facebook. And Mr. Daniels, you will advise us if you want us to have this again, so that we can, because there are 150 ideas in that book. I think tonight we just dealt with 2.
I think let's continue with them, Luphumlo, because we need to elaborate on those ideas. Hence, I started doing the videos, because I wanted to elaborate more on those ideas. So let's have more sessions like this. Okay. So we can say Fridays, we have sessions like this.
Excellent. I just want to end off with that scripture that you mentioned. Is it on Proverbs 20 or Proverbs 25?
Proverbs 20, verse 5.
Proverbs 20, verse 5. Counsel in the heart of a man is like deep water, but a man's understanding will draw it out. May we all be men of understanding. Thank you for joining us, and until next time.
Thank you, guys.